Made me feel like there was no tomorrow. Should have told you that you're beautiful, but the days pass and now it's so long ago. Did you make it? Did you break free? Did you manage to be who you wanna be? Maybe somewhere you think about me too. I wonder where are you now? Wonder where are you now? Wonder where are you now? Would you know my name? Would you know it and did you feel the same? Wonder where are you now? Wonder where are you now? It's too late now, 'cause I'm growing old, but I need you to deal with my sorrow. Just a memory, just a broken frame, and I know that I have no one else to blame. Did you make it? Did you break free? Did you manage to be who you wanna be? Maybe somewhere you think about me too.
Oh my goodness, that came out quickly. We are live again. It's 5 o'clock. It's Sunday, the 4th of November. Coming in a little bit hot today, but we're here, we're live, we're ready to CAD our little hearts out. So fire up Fusion or your CAD of choice and join me, won't you, for another hour of trying to get to grips with these tools, create some interesting projects, keep the old 3D printer primed with projects to print, maybe even some stuff for the CNC. That's what I'm going to be doing for the next hour. I've got my roast pork joint salting and waiting, ready for going in the oven after this is done. So I've pretty much done all the chores that I need to do today, I think. So feel good about being able to spend another hour in here with you guys playing with stuff. Good evening, Paul. Nice to see you again. I was just thinking as I was putting stuff in the chat that I ought to come up with a bit.ly link for the Discord, but I can't do that right now. So let's just get on. I'll worry about the bit.ly link later. I'm not going to be able to stream next week, so it'll be like a 2 weeks off, and then I guess maybe I'll try and get that sort of thing sorted for the return. So this evening I fixed my problems with a line. I want to talk about that because it was weird quirkiness. I've printed off something. Let's look at the progress today so we can talk about that. So not any real new pictures except for this one, and instead of showing that picture, I'll show you the real thing. In fact, let's show that in full screen. So this is my, I guess, first attempt to print off what will be the filing jig. So it has 3 holes in it, which will ultimately be the holes in the handle of the knife, with relief on the back. I don't know if you can see that. So the idea is I'll be able to bolt, once I've drilled the initial holes, I'll be able to bolt the thing in place. There are screw holes down each side, so I can screw it to my surface, and this internal trough is at the right angle to hold the bevel. And here's my tool steel, and it doesn't fit. It's so close. It's just so close, but it doesn't quite fit. And what's interesting is when I measured this just now, the width of this trough is 29, but it needs to be 30. So I'm gonna double check my model, but that might have been the 3D printer just contorting it slightly, which is a little bit annoying. We'll double check that. The other thing that did happen, I don't know how easy that's going to be to see, is one corner delaminated off the top, off the print bed, and so it's not completely flat along the bottom, which is kind of annoying, and it ended up with this artifact at the top few layers, because I guess as the bottom lifted up, it was like compressing against where it's trying to print. But that was the objective, that was the idea, and it's close. It is close. Other than that, more CNCing, stupid little Ripley pieces of wood. That little stack, that I had left yesterday, I got about halfway through that today. I'm increasingly thinking I'm going to need to make a few more. I think I'm not quite got enough, but there you go. So, let's have a look. What have we got here? Somebody in the Discord is working on their spoil board by the looks of it. Hey, Philip. Cutting down the spoil board and resizing. Just how much more is interesting. Wow. It's been a long time since my spoil board probably could do with changing. It's in a pretty shoddy state right now. Right. Let's just get on. Plunge right in. 5 minutes in already. No time to waste. I did do some off-camera fiddling with stuff today. So this is my little experiment pad where I've been playing with different kind of latticey interlocking kind of stuff. I came up with this fella, which I'm quite happy with, and probably represents what I could have done in the first place, which I hadn't thought about, which was, and I feel like Philip, who is in the chat, did say, like, right at the beginning of me playing with this, hey, why don't you use spirals interlocking? And I thought, well, I don't want it to be so consistent, and I was thinking, I guess spirals are a lot rounder than I wanted. What I realized today was, of course, I could do spirals, which is exactly how I created this. Created a couple, flipped them, mirrored them. In fact, I ended up doing a rotation job, I think. Here you can see, if I edit this feature, you can kind of get back to this to see how I ended up having a couple that I had just interlocked and mirrored. In fact, I didn't mirror them. I just created two and just made them rotate in opposite directions using that tool. Then I selected them, created the cylinder so I could have an axis down the middle, and created like 4 copies, which gave me this interesting tube effect. But then what I did was I scaled a non-linear scale, or a non-uniform scale, I should say. So I scaled in the x-axis down to about 30% and left everything else as it was to leave it with this kind of funky squashed thing. And then I just put a cylinder down the middle. Quite happy with how that looks. That may also feature later with the NERF gun. But that's probably all I'm going to say about that for now. Let's go check the bevel here. I want to double check that I didn't just screw this model up that led to it being the wrong size. So let's just measure between that surface and that surface. So yeah, the model is right. That should be 30 mil. But that is not how it came out. That's interesting. That is very interesting. I've not come up against precision issues before with the 3D printer. But that is definitely at least half a mil off from what it should be. Huh. So I can make it slightly bigger, give myself a little bit of room and reprint it. But maybe I should also investigate whether I'm getting any kind of slippage in, I guess it would be the y-axis on the 3D printer that would be causing. I mean, it's very consistent. Like it's not warped. It's pretty straight. It's just not quite right. Okay, because what I was going to do, obviously, assuming that was all going to work, was I was going to create the second one of these, which would be the version. So this is the version that is starting from a blank piece of tool steel, and the second version would need the support for the first bevel on the underside. Philip, could you CNC it more accurately? With my CNC machine, not really. I could, but the thing is, this is not actually a straight cut. That it is an angled cut, and obviously I can't do the angled cut on the CNC machine. And the whole point of this kind of was to be a precise support for the specific angle of the bevel. That was the thinking. So I might, I mean, it's only 1/2 mil, so I might just bolt it in place anyway. So in theory, those bolts need to be strong enough to hold, or it need to be held tightly enough that it's not going to move under filing anyway. The other thing is I put these blocks in, these raised blocks, thinking that would, if I switch on the knife for a second, that would line up with this kind of hilt section and help make sure that I don't, I have a stop block that I don't over file past to get that nice clean line there. But that's actually a little bit close, and it made it a bit difficult to get the metal even down past this point. So I'm just going to tweak this thing quickly. So let's drop you back by, let's say, 1 mil. And actually, I can probably even chamfer off this corner a little bit because, or bevel off that corner a little bit. That doesn't matter. And if I offset, offset that face back by 0.5, that should be enough. And I'll worry about whether or not my printer is inaccurate later. What filament is it? It is. What is the filament? It's like the standard stuff I get off Amazon. It's like a Sunlu. Is that right? Sunlu print stuff. I've got it here somewhere. It's relatively cheap off of Amazon. I've not had any real problems printing stuff that needs to fit, but I'm trying to think if I've done very many prints that needed to fit perfectly against the real world object. I've done a lot of prints that need to interlock with each other, and they have worked fine. I'm thinking maybe it's squidged out from the lines. I mean, it looks pretty good. Like it doesn't see, like it does have a nice clean straight edge to it. That said, now that I'm looking down the line, maybe there is a wee smidge of a bow to it. Okay. Anyway, that's a 3D printing concern. We'll worry about that later. What I might do, though, very quickly. Now, I could send this to print. I was thinking, one of the things that concerns me about this idea is that it is quite a lot of plastic. It is quite a lot of plastic, a lot of which I'm sure I could get rid of. I'm just not sure that I can get rid of it in a way that would make the print faster, I suppose. I mean, there's always a trade-off of speed of print versus amount of plastic you're using. I made it this full height, and actually that's another measurement I should check, is that it should be 28 mil, I believe. Oh no, not 28 mil. It's 28 mil minus the height of the thing below. So let me just remind myself what that was. It's like, is it 15 point something? 15.8. So for fitting within the jig. So I kind of wanted to 3D print the whole thing rather than just a shallow tray enough to get the bevel, because I could print just like the top section and mount it on something else. Might be interesting to experiment with like carving big pulls out. Except, I mean, it's only 20% infill anyway, so even though it is quite a large item, it's not like it's got a great deal of plastic in it. Yeah, it would be quicker to cut out, certainly, if I could cut in this beveled angle, but like short of doing an incredibly small CNC piece, I'd end up with steps along here, or I'd have to precisely mount a block at the bevel angle so that this was a straight cut. I think it would be difficult to get the quality of finish on this shallow angle on my CNC, at least with the bits that I have. Maybe I'm not thinking of an obvious option there. I suppose if you were cutting this way, it wouldn't be so bad. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm also sticking to this idea that I kind of wanted this to be a 3D printed thing because I want my 3D printer to produce things that are helpful in this setting. And not everyone has a CNC machine. Even though I think my CNC machine was probably less expensive than the 3D printer. But there you go. Right. I'm part of the learning experience. So stop doing that. Grab that. Save it out. Medium is probably fine for the amount of detail. First side filing mount. Yes. What I should have checked is how much filament does it think that used? 27 meters, 83 grams of filament. I mean, often 1 kilo spool, 83 grams isn't that big of a deal. What's that? I think they're like, it's not too bad. Let's open this bad boy up. Oh, I probably should have gotten rid of that one first. Sometimes I wish there was a way to like select a side of an STL in a slicer and say put this on the deck, rather than me having to remember which axis to rotate around. Not that one, obviously. No. Take around Y. And I probably need to rotate around Z. There we are. Just fits on the bed. That's interesting. I didn't actually think about the bed size when I was designing this. It just happens to fit just right. Bottom left icon bottom icon on the left. Bottom icon on the left. Oh, this thing. See this? I don't know if anyone listens to Reclaimed Audio podcast. They did a worth the price of entry episode this week. I think learning that right now was worth the price of entry for me. I realise that's kind of the wrong way around given that I'm hosting this thing, but worth me doing this to learn things from people who actually read the manuals. Awesome. That was good. Right. Slicey. Do I even need 20% filled in to see on this thing? Should I? Let me pull that back. I reckon 10%. I'm going to go really low density because, I mean, it's just going to be screwed down and filed over. Like, it doesn't really need to be a strong part. It's not under any kind of compressive forces or anything, or even bend forces. Let's check the preview. Oh, that's interesting. Did I? Oh, hang on a second. Apparently, when I set something to the deck, I selected something slightly wrong. Let's try that again. That's better. Okay, sliced out. Always check the preview. That's the lesson. Always check the preview. And there we are. Looks good to me. Export. Boom. Yeah. And we'll set going. So terrible for a CAD based live stream. Spending time to set up the 3D printer, probably not great, but if I set it going now, it'll be ready by bedtime. Hang on, let's get that there, do that there, replace, and eject. Fantastic. Let's do that. I'll tell you what, I'll switch on the camera. Boom, so you can see that. And let's switch you on quickly. Bum, bum, bum. Just gonna wipe down the bed, set it going, and then we can get on with some Nerf gun. There we are. Always keep some rubbing alcohol in hand. Print, 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 and go. Right, marvellous. That can get its print on in the background, and we can return to actually doing some CAD. So to export the STL in the same orientation as Fusion, go to Preferences, General Default Model. See now this, I'm just learning so many useful things. General Default Model. Where am I looking? Default Orbit Type, Default Model Orientation. Z up. How about that? I'll just do that then. See, smart people in the world that have actually learned these things. This is probably because you guys also watch like videos of people who know what they're talking about, and not just some idiot who's flailing around. Ah dear. Okay, here we go. Nerf gun time. With 22 minutes in, we just yesterday fixed the alignment of this fella. I think we're close enough on this model, and what I now need is to re-establish what the front of this structure is going to look like. So something has to come up from here and provide the front pivot point, and I need to support it across the top. Now I had been thinking about supporting it with this thing, but now I'm wondering about whether I support it with my other lattice. Although actually the advantage of this one, oh, here we go, 3D printer is off, take that bit of, the advantage of this one is it does have this kind of natural support for this curve, so I think I might leave that in play there for the moment, but it's 9 bodies, there we are. Gonna move you back a wee smidge, and how far down do I think I can get away with? That might actually be as far down as I can get away with already, because I kind of need it centered. Okay, what does that look like? German 3D printing YouTube guy. Yeah, I really ought to like watch more videos. There's just no time to actually spend time in the workshop and do stuff and do this. Right, so I'm gonna try and create a connector that comes up to here. And I'm just thinking, what does that look like at the moment? So, yeah, I haven't really thought about what I want the front design of this gun to look like. I wonder, what if I created another lattice? Would that be crazy? I'm just sort of, I guess I'm getting to the point with this thing where I'm now like, it's a mixture of create just the things that are important and create things that are actually going to be interesting in the design. I don't I don't think this is going to look any good, but I kind of want to roll with an idea. So I guess I was thinking if I did use this mounted to there, but that would look kind of weird and wacky. I'm not sure about that. Internet in the shed. Now that is well worth doing. I do have internet in my workshop. What annoyingly though, I have a projector in my workshop, and I used to have it set up so I could actually project against something, but I fixed the lighting, or I got much better lighting in my workshop, and I've moved everything around. So not only do I not really have a surface to project against anymore, it's also kind of way too bright in there for the quality of projector that I have. So that does not help. Right, I am flailing a little bit because I haven't really thought about how to do this. I thought, did I not? Oh, I sketched on this surface. That's why there's nothing there, because I sketched and I didn't actually extrude anything. Right. I need. This is just quite a narrow gauge. Let me remind myself how that fits into this. So like that. You're kind of right. Oh, dropping bits on the floor. Right. So yeah, at the moment this. Oh, there we are. Try and do that. This little bit here gets, I guess, clamped between the two sides of the frame. Am I still live? Am I still here? Did that just go off the air briefly? OBS said that it just needed to reconnect. Nothing else seemed to indicate any kind of problem, but we'll see. I guess it will really be CAD like nobody's watching if OBS has disconnected me. So this thing is a wee shade under 8 mil. It's kind of 7 point, maybe even 7.5. Let's make it 7.5. So I'm gonna actually extrude the real thing. I say the real thing, like a 7.5 diameter whatnot out of here, and it runs for me about, that looks like 15 mil proud of the top surface, and I'm now realizing that I am not doing it off of the top surface. I'm doing, well, let's just do that a second and I'll double check. So how deep is that hole? That hole is 14 mil deep, so total extrude should have been 29. He says, pretending he can do maths. So yeah, I extruded you 30. I think that needs to be 29. Right. So that needs to be captured. And thus captured, we should be good. I'm a little bit nervous that nobody has said anything since the OBS claimed that it was disconnecting me. If you are still connected and watching, do me a favor and say something in the chat. Either of the chats. Oh my goodness. Let's have a look at, in fact, let me quickly. All good. Thank goodness for that. I was worried for a second. So just quickly checking in here. Philip installed Shopvac system not so long ago. Water butts do not make good dust collection buckets. Yeah, those dust collection buckets, they suck. In fact, that I'm pretty sure that's exactly the same Cyclone top that I have. And I attached mine to a fermentation bucket. That was definitely nowhere close to good enough. I ended up building out. Oh, you built a box for yours. Ah, interesting. Yeah, that's probably a really smart way to do that. I was like, I will not admit defeat. I've got this damn bucket. So I ended up creating like wooden ribs inside of mine in order to give it the strength to resist. Wow, that is looking like some pretty serious dust collection for a shed. That's pretty cool. That is definitely some good progress for a weekend. Right. So back to this. We need some kind of support point, but I'm conscious that this represents the front of the gun. So what I might do is create kind of the minimum, and I'll come back and worry about embellishing any further gunness later. So that being said, so that's interesting that this is a little bit further out than this. Right, I'm going to sketch on this plane, and I'm gonna, in fact, yeah, if I just create up the halfway mark to about here, and we'll call it, well, yeah, let's call it 88 mil high by 6 mil will do, and then we'll extrude that backwards. No, not radiused. Come on, extrude that. Except that can't be right because this gap needs to exist. Okay, we're gonna do it that way for the moment anyway. We'll new body it for the moment. We'll then use this to cut that radius out, and we'll keep the tool. Okay, and then I guess we'll join this strut to, oh, except of course, other important point, Dan, as part of your minimum vial is that needs to not be there. So what I might do then is draw this out that way. There has to be a Y shape, I guess. Autocorrect, like, I have no excuses, Philip. It's fine. My autocorrect is terrible, and my typing is terrible. Like, I'm a dyslexic fool. I did try strengthening the water butt, but it turned out that I'd have to use about the same amount. Yeah, I can see how that would work for something the size of a water butt. Like I ended up I just had some scrap chipboard laying around, something like that, which did the business for me, but it was probably way more effort than it was worth. I should have just gotten the right thing in the first place. Had I thought about it or indeed done any research, I would probably have discovered that sensible people do not try to use water butts for their. Let's do that. I'm just going to improve this sketch into a Y, and let's draw another circle that is like this. And it's kind of difficult to see, but I think if I do that and then modify my extrude to select this section and deselect, come on, I want that bit, and that bit, and that bit, and not that bit. In fact, no, not that bit either. There we are. Whoa, why is that now gone? Wait, what? Did I change the depth that I wanted to extrude it? How did that become minus 31? Oh, I said, that reminds me, I said that I would I would talk about the fact that I got into a real mess with a line yesterday, and it was pissing me off, frankly. So let's just put a pin in that for a moment. Let's come back to this guy, in fact. So what I discovered was that when I tried to do a line, in fact, can we look at the history? So these two aligns was me fixing the problem. What I discovered was that when I did this align, by default it was selected on components, and even though it looked like it was supposed to work, when I then selected OK, nothing appeared in the timeline, and it didn't act like it sort of looked fine until I prompted a re-render, at which point it's like, oh yeah, there's no actual line in your timeline, and I didn't get any errors. So I'm pretty sure what happened was that I aligned, it looked fine, I went about my business, I did my cut, and by the time I did that, it was like, oh wait, that align didn't really exist. And so I don't really know why that happened, but that seemed to be the problem. So take that for what it's worth. It seemed like maybe that's a bug. Maybe it's a bug. Maybe not. Right. So that is like kind of a minimum viable whatnot for what the top of the gun could, or the front of the gun could look like. This is ugly, but that support would need to exist. This gap needs to be bigger, so I'm going to need to figure something out about that. So this probably needs to actually curve down, because yeah, this how do we in fact, try not to throw things on the floor. In fact, as I say that, that's interesting. So there's actually this plastic bracket that goes on the front of this thing, and now that I've put that in place, I'm realizing that it covers the entire height of that. No, okay. I was like, oh my goodness, I've caused problems. But I have realized that this notch only sticks out into the front of the gun when the barrel is in place, because obviously it needs to be free to fall out of the gun. Right, of course. Right, yes. So when the barrel is in place, something at the back is pushing that rod through, and that's what engages it in that hole. But what that tells me is the measurement I just took for how far it sticks out is going to be completely wrong, because I didn't have it in place at the time. So it is in fact 19 mil proud of the surface when it's in place. Now that makes sense as to why this gap would be all wrong, because this is all wrong. Right, fine. What we'll do then is we'll just come back to this extrude. We'll extrude him out an extra 4 mil. That's right, isn't it? 33. So that's what you look like when you're in place. Then we'll come back to this extrude and we'll extrude it t'other way. Come out that way instead of that way. And actually, now we can select that bit as well. Boom. That might be a wee bit shallow, but it'll do. Okay. That's more like it. Let me just check a few things. Why? Oh, goodness. Just making sure there's nothing else in the Discord that I'm missing because of the scrolling. That's all good. Right. How are we doing? 20 minutes. So, How long ago did I start that print? It is still on the first layer. I guess the first layer is like super slow to lay down. Once it's gotten past that bit, it'll pick up speed. But right. So that support needed to exist. I can probably combine this with the gun itself, but I kind of want to think more about what do I actually want the front of this thing to look like. I suspect, in truth, I might want this thing to be a bit more sinewy. That's not really a word, but this kind of whole structure is not ideal. I just need that support point though, don't I? Okay, well, I guess the good news is this, I think, has space for the bits that it needs to hold. And so what I should probably do is model a couple more of the internal components that I'm going to need to keep, because that was a key element of the problem that I got into. And the reason I just had to fix those things in the model was because I didn't do that for some of this stuff. So what am I going to pluck out of here? I guess this thing. This thing is the real heart of the gun. It is, I guess it's the plunger and spring and whatnot, the catch that catches on the back, and this whole weird mechanism that interlocks with the barrel to turn it around. So first things first, let's measure this cylinder, create that, think about what this surrounding plastic might look like. But broadly speaking, this thing is a cylinder which is 27 mil in diameter, and well, that bit of it at least is 85 mil long, and then there are a few bits that are slightly different diameters. Right. Let's move over here. Sketch. We'll sketch on. Oh, don't sketch on that plane actually, because it would make sense to sketch on a plane that's at least oriented with where it's going to go. Do that. We'll sketch over here though. I said that was 28 mil by 85 mil. Did I say 85? I did say 85 now, right? Yeah. Which looks kind of about right. Then it is, there's a little ribbed, larger diameter, what's that, 2.5 mils worth, that is up to 28 mil. Did I just say 28 mil? 27 mil and 28 mil. Okay, I got that wrong. So that means I just modified that a second. Yes, come over here. 27 is what that should have been. Let me actually, whilst I'm here, draw the sketch for 28 as well. I suppose I could have just done that the other way. Stop sketch. Turn that sketch back on. And let's just zoom in on that a second so we can extrude that out. That was 2.5 mils that way. Well, that didn't need to be a new body. That could have been a join, but we'll join it in a second. And at the front, there is another 7.5 mil, which is at a narrow gauge again. That is down to 25.5 at the front. So let's do that sketch on the front. 25.5 and extrude you by 7. And then there's kind of a flat bit. I'm not going to worry too much about the flat bit at the moment. What else do I need to know about this piece to be able to use it? It's got like a weird springy prong bit. That's not such a big deal. And it's got like a little foam gasket, which is another, what looks like mill maybe. Yeah, it's like a 1 mil gasket on the front. Which let's just quickly sketch what that looks like, because why not? I said, come on. Why sometimes I still haven't spotted the moment that it deselects from the thing that I thought that I'd selected. So that to me, if I offset, just so you can kind of see that black gasket is what I want to model for the sheer sake of it. So offset from there, it looks like maybe even not even a mil offset from the maybe 0.8 0.8 offset. Come on, do the thing. Fusion is unhappy. Right, so that's that, and that looks like we get to, if I draw a line from there, it's sort of about that height. 0 degrees, please. Oh, why didn't my offset? Why is my offset not showing up in this sketch? Huh? Why is my offset not showing up? That's kind of annoying. And why have I only got zoom for the moment? What, I've lost rotate. Fusion, you confuse me on a regular basis. What is going on? What is going on? Oh, so that 0.8 should have been the other way round. That's why. I thought that I'd got it the right way round. Apparently not. Okay. Is that you? Come here. I want to. How do I edit that offset? Because I'm pretty sure the offsets are always positive. So I'm pretty sure if I make this minus 0.8, it's going to freak out at me. Yeah, you see, you can't make it minus 0.8. So I kind of want to say, okay, well, then let me just like drag it back the other way. Like that's what you let me do before. Okay, delete that. Try this again. Offset from here. The other way, please. 0.8. Okay, was that so hard? Was that so hard? Why am I no longer able to rotate with my space mouse? It feels like every single time there has to be something. There has to be something that just freaks out. Let's do that. I would just kill Fusion right now and reopen it, except that it's too close. Too close. I don't have the time. I kind of am also at that point where I'm like, was it really worth me? Can I fillet this corner between here and no? I can't fillet between a line and a curve. Fine. You know what? For right now, because this is already beginning to bug me, I'm just going to extrude that bit by 1 mil for the sake of just getting the dimension idea. It doesn't really matter what the shape of that gasket is. It's more important, I would guess, to figure out what this plastic holder is doing. How to model that guy? How to model that guy? I do not know. Thoughts? It's kind of got 2 sections on one side and 1 section on the other that reach around it. So I suppose I could model like a thin cylinder that is containing around it that sort of these part and then cut chunks out of it. That might be the easiest beginning point. It's interesting that it's sprung loaded, it can come in and out a little bit. I guess that's because when you fire, it presses up against the back of the barrel section to create the air seal around the specific dart. Okay, so it is going to be kind of relevant to know that that little piece of plastic is there at least for the internal shape to allow space for it. So it's sort of a cylinder that is 31 mil exterior diameter, and it looks like probably 1 mil. Let's do that way. Probably 1 mil ish, 1.5 mil thickness. Okay, so let's do that. Let's create a 31 mil diameter sleeve for this. Let's come and what's the best place to sketch it? We'll sketch it on, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's why you didn't join. Because I didn't make you solid, which is kind of true because it is a hollow tube. But that's not exactly what I thought at the time. Right, okay. Sure, that surface is fine. Select the geometry. You just saw me select the geometry of that endpoint, and now you jumped me over here. What are you doing? Go home, Fusion, you're drunk. 31 mil. Offset by 1.5 mil. Colorway 1.5. Okay, so you're at that size. Oh, now you're letting me rotate. Why have I? Space Mouse is back. Apparently now it's fine. Of course. So total length ish of that is going to be sort of, well, let's do it to there, 67. New body, and then we'll move it to its alignment. Bum, bum, bum. It's kind of about there. Oh no, Space Mouse is gone again. I think I'm probably just over-pegging the server, over-pegging the thing. 3D printer's picked up a bit of noise now. It's into the fast parts. Right, so this has some chunks cut out of it, but I've been trying to think about how I would model those chunks cut out of it. It's not super important. There's a ridge along the top. That's probably important for the purposes of the model. The ridge along the top is basically a 1 mil ridge that's sort of rectangular. So let's do that. Come on, why are you making me do this the hard way? Oh, my space mouse should work. It's so annoying. Right, you will create a little rectangle which is 0.5. Oh, sorry. 1 high by 0.5 wide, and then we'll create another one to the side, 1 high by 0.5, just to get it, make sure it's centered, and then connect those external lines straight down to the circle. Come on. Like that. Good. And then we'll extrude that. Come on, do the thing. Good. Extrude him back along his line. Space Mouse working for this bit. Don't understand, Space Mouse, why do you work for bits and not others? Not cut, join. You don't run the whole length, you run until 43. No, minus 43. Excellent. So that will probably be quite important for how it fits into this section here. I'm going to need to do a load more tweaking on this white plastic piece. How deep should I go into modeling the exact parts of the internal mechanism? I keep kind of flip-flopping on. It's interesting practice to try and take a complex shape and model the whole thing, but then I'm not going to be creating this bit. So part of me only really needs to know where the contact surfaces are and just make sure I don't create something that clashes with it. Anyway, we are out of time. That joint needs to go in the oven. I'm sure you all have things to do, chores to get on with. That's the beeper. It's been productive-ish. Sort of things are sort of taking shape. We'll see. That is it for me for 2 weeks now. I think I'll be back the week after next, but next week I'm away. So with that, I will bid you adieu. I'm going to go and get my dinner in the oven. Have a good rest of your Sunday. Let's listen to some... Oh, play through the soundboard already. Thank you. That's it. Thank you very much. Enjoy your weeks and such, and I will see you in a couple weeks.